Good evening, classmates. This is Tasia Miller, and I will be discussing my research paper. I named my paper Communication Between Father and Child. It is for the Spring 2023 Interpersonal Communication class taught by Janet Douglas Price. So, firstly, my topic that I chose to talk about was basically the lack of listening skills and conflicts that I had with my father while he was alive because it had the biggest impact on our relationship. And since he's gone now, I figured that while I'm grieving, I should come to terms with it so that I don't constantly stress over it and like think about what I could have done differently or what he could have done differently, just to ease my mind. For my research, from my research, I learned that the things that I felt weren't so specific to me and my sister, it seemed to be very common for other people who had parents, specifically like alcoholic parents, like substance abuse in general. Like, for example, one of the articles that I read were basically talking about the characteristics of communication in families of alcoholics, written by Marie Haberfeld and Jennifer Thies, where it spoke a lot about how they felt that they were walking on eggshells because of like the anger that comes with alcoholism and like all of the inconsistent emotions that also follows along with that. And I could relate because my father was often angry, or he would show us affection one day and then the next day he was giving us the silent treatment, which was very different from when I was in high school. And he would basically be helicopter parenting, which is another article that I use. Is basically young adults and parent perceptions of facilitation, and is like associations with overparenting, by Trisha J. Burke and Chris Segrin. And it's talking about how overparenting can stunt the young adults' growth, like as they go on to college, and how they perceive things. And I know I can relate because they were talking about how overparenting can be associated with anxiety and like stress. And I know I'm prone to anxiety and I'm very stressed a lot of the times during the semester. So, I can relate, like, especially now that I don't have him hovering over me. It is both peaceful and even more stressful. So, just figuring it out. As I was saying, for my analysis, I figured that was like for my future relationships, I would try to take what I learned from him, or rather what I didn't learn from him, and use it into bettering myself and bettering the people I meet in the future, and not bottling up everything to myself, which comes hand in hand with an article that I was reading talking about grieving, which states that communication after one's death is beneficial, but also complicated. And I can say that from experience that it's very complicated to speak about. But after I speak about it, I definitely feel better. So I've been getting better about speaking about how I feel. In conclusion, my main takeaways are: as a parent, your job is to take responsibility for your child as you chose to have the child, but not command everything they do. Don't control who they hang out with, who they don't hang out with. And also, grief comes in many different forms. Some people may not grieve immediately. You might take it harder than some other people, even if you didn't have the best relationship. And sometimes it's better to just burn the bridges instead of waiting for the bridges to burn themselves. Because sometimes some relationships are just not salvageable, and you should protect your mental health first before trying to protect anyone else's. Thank you. This was Communication Between Father and Child by Tasia Miller for Spring 2023 Interpersonal Communication. I don't know